The Super Media Bros podcast is a founding member of the OddPods Media Network.
Super Media Bros.
I'm gonna read this to you. Stephen King's masterpiece of terror, directed by the master himself. That was on the original poster.
You showed me the trailer. What made him think of all my stories? This is going to be the one that is going to scare the fuck out of you.
Welcome to the Super Media Bros podcast, where two best friends give comedically informative takes on movies, music, wrestling, and more. I'm Richie.
And I'm Devin.
This is Cult Cinema Saturday, episode 286. And on this edition of Cult Cinema Saturday, we are diving into Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive based on his short Trucks. Yeah. So, as Devin said at the jump of this motherfucker, like, what made this motherfucker think, I'm going to scare the hell out of you, and I'm going to point to the camera and say, I'm going to scare the hell out of you. And it's, in theory, on paper, sure, this is scary.
Yeah, it's a good concept.
In practice, some parts, this is a scary scenario. Other parts, I'm like, oh, dude, this is dragging in some bits. And I love this movie. This is coming from somebody that absolutely loves this movie. This ain't it. You know, as far as like him being like, I'm going to scare the hell out of you. No.
So, did it have something to do with movie studios? Because I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, bro, if you're so disappointed in previous adaptations, it was your source material. What's stopping you from rebooting it yourself?
Dude, honestly, he still likes a lot of his other adaptations. You've seen this. He's fucking said as much, you know?
Right. I'm just wondering, like, as an example, what would have stopped him from going, this was great for what it was, but, oh man, it's just not what I had in mind. I'm going to do Salem's Lot myself. Like, what? Was there something to do with the film studios that did the film? Was there a legal aspect that stopped him? Or did he truly find it in his heart where he was like, no, Trucks is the one?
I know that you're expecting some kind of big answer. I know that you have so many questions whenever in reality it was the fucking cocaine.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Stephen King was blown out of his fucking skull on coke for the entirety of this shoot.
I mean, it shows, but I just...
No, that's facts, dude. That's not even like me being like, that's not even a bit. That's facts. He
I
will tell
know
you.
You're being serious, and that's why I'm laughing. I mean, for God's sake, he doesn't even remember writing, like, what, half of it? Like the original novel? He doesn't, no recollection.
Right.
So, I'm not surprised. Then again, I've never done coke. I don't know. Maybe I can't say for certain, because, fuck.
So this movie stars Emilio Estevez. Emilio Estevez. Pat Hingle, who was most notably Commissioner Gordon in the Tim Burton and Schumacher Batman films.
That was pretty cool. Bubba.
Right. Bubba. Yeah. And a lot of other actors that you don't think about. Like when you see this movie and you're just like, wait, is this that person? Yeah, it sure is this person. I can't ever remember how her name is pronounced, and I feel really dumb because I've heard it Yeardley and Yardley, but basically Yardley Smith, the voice actor for Lisa Simpson, plays a wife to another person in this film. And the other notable name in here is Giancarlo Esposito, who was most famously Gus Fring on Breaking Bad, playing a bit part of a dude in the arcade room at this gas station. So we'll get into the actual plot of the movie and we'll get to these characters. The plot of the movie is that Earth gets stuck in the tail of a comet, and it causes all machinery, including trucks, radios, arcade games, vending machines, fucking electronic carvers, all this shit to become sentient. And there's no real explanation other than they just put some title text on the screen where you're just like, well, it is a Stephen King movie. I guess I'm going to have to do some reading if I want to watch this, because Stephen King's like, I'm going to scare the hell out of you. For all you motherfuckers that don't want to read, I'm going to make you read. And then he writes himself into a nice little cameo at the beginning where you see the start of the fuckery literally happening where it's like a bank. And you know how they used to have those old school, they still have them like on overpasses, like the digital signs where it's only like gold on black. How it just says, fuck you. Fuck you. If you're not really paying attention, you're going to miss it. Because I remember like I was mid-conversation with you and then you saw it, you were just like, oh, bruh. That shit was fucking great.
Dude, just listening to you explain this plot, the more, because when you're watching it, you just kind of go with it, right?
Right.
I don't know why you do. Maybe it's because it's an old movie that has that B-budget charm to it. But then when you actually sit down and you analyze it.
Makes no damn sense. Compels me, though.
It's fucking true.
Yeah, like, the only thing that I can think of is, was this sort of to feed off of the fear of, what was it? Was it Y2K? That's the name of it, right?
Yeah, but Y2K was like literally 14 years after this. But it played into like a lot of people being like, well, machines taking over, or just that kind of like shit. Anyway, I don't feel like that really was a thing until later.
Okay, because
like,
I wasn't born for hardly any of that shit.
Yeah, most of that stuff happened in the 90s. Like, if you really go in the 90s, and I know this is kind of like a sidebar, but if you go and look at science fiction films in the 90s, a lot of them had to do with like cyber shit, where it was, and that was just like a 90s thing. Like that shit was just there. I don't recall much happening in the way of those types of like cyber terror kind of movies happening in the 2000s, because it was like right before the Y2K scare happened. This sort of just kind of predates it as like what would happen if like some cosmic shit caused all this to fucking happen. And I don't know, dude, but the way that it fucking opens with that bank scene, like Stephen King himself just pops up trying to get, this ATM to work. And it just says, you are an asshole. Like it just says, and Stephen King like calls out his wife's actual name, by the way. And he's like, come over here, sugar buns. This machine just called me an asshole. Like just in his best Hicktown, USA voice. And then the movie opens with, it's obviously the opening credits on this drawbridge to Who Made Who, which we should explain that AC/DC is Stephen King's favorite band, and also were asked to supply the film's soundtrack and score,
which was good. It's AC/DC. You're not really necessarily going to go particularly wrong with that.
No, and I will tell you right now, that was the appeal to get me to watch this movie whenever I was growing up.
Yeah, and of a horror movie, it's not a terrible choice, because aesthetically, when you think of like all these big rigs and trucks and everything, it's like, okay, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, AC/DC feels like that type of band where it's like, okay, like these kind of the occupation of like a truck driver. Yeah, they listen to AC/DC on the road.
Yeah, like I can absolutely see that.
And then Angus's like guitar work in the 80s, like his guitar work is like based in like blues rock and shit. But like in the 80s, like a lot of AC/DC's music was, to me, very vastly underrated between 1983 and 1987. So you would hear some of the score happening where he would have these really shrill sounding guitar, like he's sliding the pick down the strings and like making really like fucking spooky noises and shit. It fits, but when you got a dude crashing through a windshield into a watermelon truck and the band's logo is on the side of a hippie van, this drawbridge is just getting raised up automatically and chaos is just fucking happening. It takes you out of it a little bit.
Not only that, but just having the music and then the title cards says featuring the music of this band. And then you see the band logo on a vehicle in the movie. It's like, okay, y'all, it's a little bit much.
When does it become product placement at this point?
Yeah, this is a bit, and I know it's an 80s horror movie and all, but it's kind of cheesy.
Well, I mean, this movie is filled with camp.
It absolutely is, but I think like it was charming camp. There, it was just like, okay, y'all just sucking y'all own dicks now.
Pretty much. So the backdrop of the majority of this film is set at the Dixie Boy Truck Stop, and the movie is based in Wilmington, North Carolina, which, you know, we should make note that it's not in Maine.
Yeah, it's a first.
And the only thing that I could think of for the reasoning behind this is that Maine doesn't seem like it would be a very big truck driving state, and like North Carolina and like southern United States, you know, in general, that's where the majority of your fucking hauling is happening and stuff. Which it is all over the states, mind you, but if I think like truck driver, I'm not gonna lie, I really do think of like the southern United States.
Right. Yeah, I can see that because, you know, you don't, if you're watching like Ninja Turtles or Spider-Man or something, you don't exactly see any of them saving, you know, Big Hoss, you know. You don't see some fucking Larry the Cable Guy looking dude just going, well, goddamn it, I'm trying to get to goddamn fucking Manhattan. Like, you don't really see that. So, yeah, fair enough. I will say this, though. Despite the non-inclusion of Maine, and there was a little boy in this movie, but there was no evil bully. I'm not talking like just a bully. I'm talking like, my brother in Christ, you're a fucking sociopathic serial killer in the making. Like, they didn't have that. You know what they did have, though, that is a staple of Stephen King? Subtle racism.
Yeah.
Like, I calls it how I sees it.
Yeah, and that had a lot to do with Pat Hingle's character, like and a couple of the other employees of the fucking truck stop.
Mm-hmm. Again, I know it's the 80s. Absolutely could have been far worse. But still watching it, it's like,
bruh.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, God. Now, the characters in this movie, fucking Emilio Estevez plays Bill, who is an ex-convict. And you kind of find out through Pat Hingle's character, whose name is Bubba. It's not just him calling people Bubba. There are a lot of paroled ex-convicts that work here because he shows Bill his punch-out card and he's just like, hey, this star on here means that I own your ass. You either belong to me or you belong to the state of North Carolina. And then he goes to put it back up and he sees like all the other coworkers there have the fucking star on the ticket. So it's like he's running this like gas station full of like imprisonment. Like these people are like, you know, he's basically like his own little warden and he's kind of a piece of shit.
Flag on the play. You said his name is Bubba.
Yeah, Bubba Hendershot.
And he calls everyone Bubba.
Yes.
Throughout the film.
Yes.
Including his own car with the license plate that says Bubba.
Yes.
So, well, let me ask you this, Devin. How are you feeling about this movie so far, Devin?
I have no idea, Devin.
Yeah. You see how stupid this is.
Exactly. Yeah. Because there's a spot in here where he's threatening Emilio Estevez's character. He's like, well, what are you going to do about it? And then Emilio is like, I'm going to knock your teeth in, Bubba. And at first you think he's just kind of insulting him back.
Yeah.
But he's calling him by his fucking name, dude.
I didn't realize that. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I love that you're just now hearing this, too. Oh, this was your first watch of this movie, by the way.
Yeah. I never had seen it before. I would really like to see the unedited, uncut clip of the little boy's brain getting mashed by the little concrete rollers.
Oh, I will get to. There was so much cut out of this film. I'll get to.
Really?
Oh my God! Yeah,
okay.
Just give me a minute, dude. Like, okay, so the other big character in this movie is the giant Green Goblin front piece on the Happy Toys big rig. Cool as fuck looking.
Yeah, no, that was really fucking cool. And at first I didn't understand how they got away with it, but then
Permission.
Yeah, you had explained it to me where it's like, it's not 2019 Marvel. It's not even
2000s Marvel, my guy.
No, it was the 80s. So
Yeah.
they were just like, look, whatever we can get, fine, fuck it.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, Marvel was kind of fledgling by that point.
Yeah, had they gone bankrupt yet?
I'm not sure, but I do know it was at that point where they're like, oh, we'll take what we can get. I mean, for fuck's sake, look at the movies that were based around the properties that were like sort of in development.
Mhm.
Like fucking Canon Films had the right to Spider-Man, for God's sake, at that point.
It's so weird to
Yeah.
me.
So moving along with this shit, a couple of other characters that are of note is the fucking Bible salesman. That motherfucker, dude.
I'm so confused by his character.
It is both the most confusing yet fucking hilarious character in this movie.
Yeah, because like
Even though he's a sexist, like, pedo piece of shit.
Yeah, that's what threw me off, because it's like he's a perv at his introduction. But then, and as I'm speaking out loud, I think I'm starting to figure it out, but then whenever he's in public, he's a good Christian man. So maybe that's the point?
That's exactly the point. Where it's
Okay.
like behind closed doors, the dude's a real fucking piece of shit. But
Okay.
then he's got this image to uphold and everything. So he's got this chick with him who winds up being Emilio Estevez's love interest in the movie. But throughout these scenes, they're setting up, you know, the radio is going off and people are like, oh, there's strange occurrences and all this other stuff. And people are trying to get off the highways. So most of them are at this truck stop.
Mm.
They pull in there and, you know, there's some fuckery that happens, you know, with all the characters. But later on, he's sitting there trying to pitch sale the fucking Bible to Wanda Jane and another fucking employee there. And they're just sitting there with the most expressionless looks on their face. Like, are you fucking, like, will you shut the fuck up?
Are you done yet?
Right. And by this point, the trucks have started kind of moving around on their own here and there. So the Green Goblin truck backs up and drives and it fucking crashes into Bubba's car. And then like another garbage truck, like, or it is a garbage truck, I think that it does. Like, because it spills the garbage all over it.
Yeah.
Because he's like, son of a bitch. And he's like looking out the window. And this is the best line of the whole fucking movie, where we just explained he's this, you know, good Christian Bible salesman. Wanda Jane is standing up, kind of looking out, and he's just like, that son of a bitch. And he fucking stands up to go grab his shit to go chase down whoever's in the truck, which there's nobody in the fucking truck. And he just like, son of a bitch, out of my way, bitch.
That part was fucking great.
That is
In terms of directing, that was Stephen King's best moment.
the timing was
So good. I will say this, though. You know, I'm a little harsh on Stephen King's directing in this movie. For one, I recognize it's his debut. He's never even, to my knowledge, done so much as a short film. So, yeah, you start somewhere.
yeah.
I know that if I were to start filmmaking, my first one is going to be hot garbage.
This is his only movie too.
Yeah, so, hey, okay, fair enough. You don't know how to direct people to emote the correct way, but
He sure as hell can set shots up though.
that's what I was about to bring up, is you might not be able to direct people, but you definitely have an eye for cinematography.
I was gonna say, like, Stephen King looks more like he'd be suited for director of photography than actual
Yes.
film director.
Which is kind of crazy to me, because it's like, damn. So, because in order to be a writer, you have to know what these emotions are. You have to get in people's heads in order to write for these characters, different people in different circumstances, doing this for decades. Even back then, had been doing it for a while. So I find it fascinating that he couldn't bring that out of people, but he could absolutely grab a camera and go, yeah, I know I'm only a writer, but no, I know exactly what I'm looking for. We'll just do this.
Yeah.
It's like, damn. And the cinematography was nothing like groundbreaking, but it was absolutely like very well done.
I was gonna say, because as boring as the movie can be in certain parts, it still keeps you engaged somehow.
Yeah, there's that one shot at night where the neon lights are flashing on their faces and everything. Really good shot.
I'll tell you right now, a good example of this is the entirety of Giancarlo Esposito's character in the arcade room in the fucking truck stop.
Yes.
Because, and this is more fucking humor. So we should make note that by this point, the machines and the trucks and everything have already taken a life of their own, and they're doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's in this fucking arcade room, and all the machines, and the pinball machines and the arcade machines and the cigarette machines and the coffee machines are all kind of going haywire, and he's just looking around, and all of a sudden the top of a pinball machine just shatters. And I'm going to ask you, if that happened in front of you, what would your initial reaction be? Like, legitimately.
A pinball machine, specifically.
Yes. Just shatters in front of you for no fucking reason.
Oh, dude, I'm running because I don't want to get in any kind of shit.
What was his reaction?
Your mama.
That's I know, dude. What? Just the fucking sound, the everything about it. The camera shot, like it's a POV from the pinball machine upwards, angled at his face, bent down to this thing. It just shatters. He just, your mama. Like,
dude,
bro, I'm crying laughing at this the first time I've seen this movie.
When I saw that, I was like,
You fucking cackled. It was great.
Bruh. Because then immediately after, other machines start shattering and everything, which I have questions why, because if they're sentient and they're smashing and shattering the glass to itself, is that a form of self-mutilation on the part of the machine?
I don't believe so. I feel like in a way it's the machines trying to move and they can't, and they're buckling literally under the pressure.
Okay.
But the way you brought that up kind of coincides with the edit of this fucking shot. So the Yo Mama thing happens, and then they cut out, back into the diner area where fucking Wanda June gets her arm sliced by a fucking automatic turkey slicer.
That fucking, goddamn it.
Burning all the fucking fried eggs in the world. So it was a particularly gruesome shot, which was cut as well.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, I'll get into all of the details of those in a minute. But
yeah, you're going to have to do some digging to actually find them.
We fucking go back to the arcade room, and he just sees shots of, the machines going off, and he's looking around more. The cigarette machine starts spitting out boxes of cigarettes and change. And then the next shot is literally him on his knees, and he's already pretty full up, and he is just stuffing pockets with literally everything. At one point, he even takes the goddamn half-full coffee cup and tucks it in his shirt, and it's all like... Look, my man's like goes from just like normal everyday Joe to the Michelin tire guy, like fucking huge levels. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? And then the way they kill him off.
Bruh.
He gets mesmerized by one of the arcade machines just kind of shape, like there's shapes, exiting and going into the screen in a sense. It's very hypnotizing,
It is, but... What?
My man's straight up just had that, ooh. Just like staring at it, and then it explodes and it shoots him backwards. And only then does that get attention from the people in the lobby, because they can't hear the glass breaking on these fucking machines from where they're at. And it's right there.
Yeah. Because it seems like it's an older building.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't think the walls are particularly thick.
No.
How the fuck did they hear anything?
I don't know how a lot of this shit happened.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's the least of the concerns in regards to continuity and logic in this movie. I get that, but it is little things like that. Like later on in the movie, whenever it's revealed that they can turn off the power and turn it back on and whatnot, it's like, well, hold on. If you have control of the electrical outlets and whatnot, why are you not, if you're really like about it, why can you not shatter the light bulbs and, kind of do the Spider-Man 2 glass killing people in the face sort of?
Or at least like making electrical surges
Yeah,
like out of the things, and hitting people.
I have not read Trucks, but I have to assume that some of this has to be. Is this really a plot hole? Because if it's electrical, like what are we defining as a machine?
I know we had a lot of these questions during watching this because technically speaking, it should have just been, trucks and like pretty much that. But there's so much more that's going on. Like it even can control at one point like RC cars, Walkmans. Like there was a dude bleeding from his ears on a park bench or like a swing bench in front of his house with headphones on from his fucking Walkman, which I want to like roll into how that scene came about because there is a kid who is the son of one of the fuel stop workers who gets diesel sprayed in his eyes whenever now this motherfucker had it coming. I'm sorry. So he's trying to fill up a truck and obviously the machines are doing their thing and they cut the pump. And he's like, what the fuck? Because nothing's happening. So he's like fucking digging in the nozzle, trying to get it cleared out, and he's blowing in it. But then the motherfucker points it at his face and he's just looking into it. And I'm like, bro, you are asking for this.
Yeah.
And it just launches diesel.
Common sense.
Right. It just launches diesel in his eyes and blinds him.
At first, I'm going to be honest, this is so stupid, but whenever he first turned to look at it and he kind of slowly like gets it closer to his face, you know how in some old school country songs they will say shit like drinking gasoline and stuff like that. I was like, is he about to just drink it?
You thought he was going to siphon it out?
Yeah, like I thought that he was legitimately about to do a taste test. Because between that and Trevor in GTA 5, I just assumed, Richie, but for real, what does drinking gasoline mean? I know that this is a sidetrack, but I have looked it up before, and I don't know if it's just because like Google wasn't advanced enough at the early age that I was when I looked this up. I don't know what that phrase means. What is it?
By my memory, from even way back then, drinking gasoline, I always like had assumed it to be like alcoholic beverages or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because my dumbass straight up Googled, can you drink gasoline? And everybody was like, no, call 911. And I'm like, no, I'm not actually. God damn it. But either way, that's what I thought he was about to do. And then it sprayed him in the eyes. And then, we kind of go from there. It was to the point where even though I was watching the movie, I didn't even realize that it was because it stopped working. I just thought my man's was thirsty. Like I was.
He was pulling like, whenever I was a kid growing up, we used to just drink from the water hose.
Yeah, like because I still to this day in my mid-20s, and you don't even know. You don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Like I'm so confused by this. I'll get on a soapbox about this shit, so we're gonna stop here. But like, no, I had no idea what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, and he just gets sprayed in the face with diesel. And then later on is when we get the whole I'll knock your teeth in Bubba thing because Bubba's threatened to fire him for leaving the place to go look for his fucking kid in the midst of all this chaos. So his son, Deke, who is on a fucking baseball team, they win their game and their coach is like, hey, soda's on me. So he goes to the soda machine and the soda machine just starts, you know how they have those automatic baseball pitchers?
Mm-hmm.
It basically does that with all the sodas and it just launches them at all the children, but hits the coach in the fucking dong, hits him in the chest, and then KOs his ass in the fucking head with a full ass can of soda. And he's knocked out bleeding from this, no pun intended, baseball sized wound in his fucking head. He's dead.
Which makes me go, if it did that to your head, what did it do to your nuts?
Right. And then the next shot is this kid trying to run away on a bicycle, and you hear him go, oh, and he fucking like falls over because his feet get tangled up in the spokes. And here comes a goddamn steamroller from behind the scoreboard and runs his little ass the fuck over. And these kids are just getting slaughtered by shit, and Deke manages to make it out on his bike, which he winds up going to this one neighborhood and seeing all this chaos that's happened. Like, people have crashed their cars. The Walkman killed the one guy, particularly upsetting. Like, I forgot there is a spoiler alert. There is an animal not shown being unalived, but the aftermath of it, and it's weird. Like, the way it was done, it's like, it's sad, but like, had the fucking RC car in its mouth, and I'm like, was that meant to be like a, you know how dogs chase trucks and tires and shit? It's like, man, did the RC car chase the dog at this point? You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad it wasn't graphic, because I just have that's my one little, like...
Yeah, animal deaths in movies, I think, are...
That's my kryptonite. I don't like that.
I think, okay, and of all the things that I can handle on screen, I think those are unnecessary.
Yeah, because, like, usually, especially guilty in horror movies, I always feel like it's like, and I know that this is the point, but it's always like, dog and cat didn't do nothing.
Right, like, they're innocent in this shit, man.
Yeah, and again, I recognize that is the point, you know?
Right.
That shot was totally unnecessary, but
yeah.
I am grateful, if you're gonna put it in, I fail to see how that RC car killed the dog.
Yeah, same here.
Because it was so ungruesome that I'm like...
It was all, I hate to say this, but it was almost a comedic looking shot.
Yeah, because the dog looked so fake.
Yeah.
That, of all the shit to cut out of this movie, cut that out because it was stupid.
Yeah, true enough. But like, Deke sees all this chaos happening and he eventually gets away. Now, we'll kind of like jump forward to the back half of this movie after we take a quick break. You're listening to Super Media Bros on the OddPods Media Network. Don't go anywhere.
This is Beer in Front. Every week I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we get those check-ins and badges. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. That's Beer in Front, part of the OddPods Media Network.
And welcome back. We are going to go to the Dixie Boy Truck Stop, where a shitload of characters that get introduced in this movie just, you know, they gather around.
They vibe.
Yeah. So eventually the trucks start a circle pit around this fucker because they're just going in circles. Like, the trucks are just like fucking... It's like, at this point, you're like, okay, why haven't they just plowed through this building?
Yeah, and what's weird is that they end up doing it later, so I'm just kind of like, I don't understand what this is about.
Right, and I didn't really understand the point of, like, the comet lasts a few days, which means the shit's going to go back to normal once the comet passes, but, like, why would they not just plow through this fucking building? They're so much bigger. And we kind of get a semi-answer in the form of this army flatbed, like, turret gun hybrid cart vehicle thing. And I'm really describing this fucking thing as best as I can. It's just a flat piece of fucking, like, I don't know. It's like a flat plank of fucking plywood.
Yeah.
On top of like a cart with a steering wheel and a pole and a gun on it. So it shows up, and this is where we start getting actual gun deaths. And I'm talking like this thing just sprays bullets in, like, I think like maybe 5 or 6 fucking people. And we also find out that Bubba Hendershot has a goddamn weapons cache in the basement of this fucking thing.
Dude, at this point, they had not explained where it came from or anything. They end up doing it, but...
It was piss poor, though.
Yeah, at first I was just watching it, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Right, and Emilio Estevez just kind of explains it away like, oh, he's probably been collecting this stuff for years. It's just kind of what a guy like him does. And it's like...
What?
Yeah, no. My guess was that he was running a goddamn weapons trade, you know, shit. Why do you have that much shit? That's not even a fallout shelter.
No, like, honestly, before they even went down into the basement, like, whenever it was just him walking out with it, I almost was like, Richie, turn this silly mess off. Like, I can only tolerate so much.
Yeah, because then explosions started happening. I think that's where most of the budget went. There was a lot of explosions in this fucking movie, dude.
Probably. Because this is just an assumption. I haven't looked at any trivia, but I would venture to assume that a lot of the trucks in this movie were actual big rigs that some fucking driver was like, yeah, hell yeah, you could put my truck in the fucking movie.
Right, like people just lent it out or whatever.
Yeah, because like, dude, I mean.
That's expensive.
Yeah, they're not going to, come on.
Dude, big rigs like that, like if you buy them brand new, easily like $150,000.
Yeah.
Probably 200 if you.
Especially the Goblin one, because I'm not like a 18-wheeler dude, you know, like that's not me. It's not my profession. But on outside and inside alike, that's a beautiful truck. Like the red leather on the inside and everything. It was a very, very pleasing to look at vehicle. But the other ones, I'm like, I mean, for God's sake, whenever I'm sure the logic was, well, shit. I mean, when people are, if you see Bigfoot, the monster truck, everybody knows Bigfoot.
Right.
So they were probably doing something like that.
Yeah. Something to put eyes on it.
Yeah.
So Bill, I should mention that Bill is the name of Emilio Estevez's character in this movie. So it turns out that he kind of theorizes the machines are here to end human life on Earth so that the aliens can take over and repopulate the Earth with their fucking shit.
It sounds like Stephen King wanted, and I know it's confirmed that all of his stories are canon, but it sounds like he wanted to make an unofficial series out of this.
Probably.
And it never took off. Which, I do love that concept, though. That is cool. How they got humans to be dead. It's pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah.
But the idea of aliens wanting to repopulate the Earth and blah, 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 blah.
We're going to use trucks to do this. We're
Yeah,
gonna,
like
we're
that's
going to
so
use trucks to
fucking
kill you
stupid.
guys. Like they could just fly up your ass with their ships
Yeah, like-
and explode you from the inside. But no, we're going to use fucking big rigs to kill you.
Like if that sequel premise was to a better movie that made sense to the sequel, I'd be all for it. But what the fuck is this? And also, what part of this scenario makes you go, aliens, dude? What?
Totally fucking aliens.
Like, refresh my memory. When they were doing the Morse code, did they even say that it was a comet? How did we get here?
Okay, so that's what I was actually getting at earlier. So, like, whenever the machine gun rolls up, it's holding them obviously at gunpoint and hostage and shit, and it's honking Morse code, which Deke has already shown up, and he's been kind of found and pulled into the truck stop by Bill and a couple of other people. He writes it down on a piece of paper, and I can't remember exactly what it says, so I'm kind of paraphrasing this. It essentially was just like, feed us and nothing will happen to you. If you don't, you will all die. And it's essentially them being like, you're going to fuel us up because they're running out of fuel, which is the real Achilles heel, if you will, of the trucks and shit, where it's like, all right, cool, we have this plan, but God damn it, we actually need humans to fill us up, which it's ironic as fuck that if they killed off the fucking human population and if the aliens don't know how to work gas pumps, these trucks are just fucked, dude.
Yeah, that's one of many plot holes that I can't process.
It was just a plot point to use Hell's Bells in a montage sequence because, I mean, they're just filling up trucks upon trucks upon trucks upon trucks, and I'm talking like an all damn day affair. Again, this movie has so much else going for it, but then when it's boring, it gets really boring. And that's fucked up because this movie has so much potential.
Yeah. Like,
imagine it being in the hands of a capable director and a little bit of a better fleshed out script loosely based on trucks.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have cut out the entire, like all machines. Like there's no reason. Make it just vehicles, because like we were saying earlier with the electrical outlets and all that other stuff, you get into very like muddled territory that nobody is going to understand.
Yeah. So the way that they plan on escaping is they're like, okay, well, we can just use boats. Cool. Go out on water. Just wait it out. Which they do. But
is that not a vehicle too?
That's exactly my point. It's like, dude, you think that the boats with the motors on the boats would like take over and like any fucking way. Well, they load up with weapons from the weapons cache and they just start blowing some of these trucks up. They throw a grenade on the machine gun turret thing. And when that happens, that's when the trucks start plowing through the actual truck stop building. Which I should mention that the Dixie Boy Truck Stop was a constructed set piece for this movie that truck drivers in real life thought was an actual truck stop. And they tried to stop off and fuel up there. And then they were turned away being like, this is a movie set. Oh. Ironically, after the movie wrapped production, they turned it into an actual truck stop.
I would like to go there.
I don't know if it's still up, but dude, yeah, same. It would be fun. I want to jump to the end of this movie because there's really not a whole bunch else to talk about, if I'm being honest. Like, I know that sounds so fucked up, but there really isn't much else to talk about.
Well, no, there is one thing. The, what was it? Was it like, you fuck like a hero or something?
Oh my God, the relationship subplot with the old girl that was riding with the Bible salesman and Bill. Yeah, she keeps calling him like hero and hero and hero. She's like, well, you already are a hero. And he's like, I don't know about that. You're sure cute for a hero. It's like, I don't know about that. And then they wind up fucking later. And she's like, you sure make love like a hero. And he's just like, And then later on when they blow up the fucking machine gun turret, like he's like doing the duck and cover thing. And she's like, I ain't never seen a hero with his ass in the air like that. And I'm like, he's got a name.
Not even just that, but it's just kind of like, can you shut the fuck up?
She's the most boring fucking character in this movie. And that's saying something.
She's boring, and then the Lisa Simpson one, I was just like, oh my God. Is she going to get killed off?
You can't unhear her screaming the entire time either.
Oh my God.
Curtis! Like the whole fucking time, bruh.
Dude, I was just like in awe at that. I was like, my man's really married that. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So they eventually leave to go to the docks. And they escape, which they blow up the Dixie Boy. Like the Dixie Boy just fucking explodes because obviously it does. That's what you do. And they get down to the docks and the surviving Green Goblin truck tries to make one last ditch effort to run after them. And Emilio Estevez shoots a fucking rocket launcher and blows it the fuck up. They get on the boat and they ride off, and then there's a fucking title card that pops up, and it's like, 2 days later, a UFO got destroyed by a Soviet, quote, weather satellite, equipped with a Class 4 nuclear missile and a laser cannon. And it's like, what? Okay. Like, they really didn't even need to include that. And again, this is like Cold War era.
Yeah.
So of course they're gonna make some fucking allusion to like Russia and everything else. And then they're just like, 6 days later, Earth passed out of the comet's tail and the survivors are still alive and everything went back to normal. And it's like, you could have just said 6 days later everything went back to normal. But let's throw that fucking Soviet weather satellite subplot in there that had fuck all to do with this movie.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, so
much.
Yeah, Maximum Overdrive. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It had so much more potential, and I will go ahead and get into the stuff that got cut out of this because it was going to be slapped with a fucking X rating.
Okay.
The fact that Stephen King actually showed that cut to George Romero, and George Romero was fucking repulsed by it.
Oh, wow.
That's saying something. If you can make George Romero... Rest in peace. If you can make George Romero fucking like, you know what I mean? That's pretty bad. So they had to cut 3 seconds, and I'm reading a list of this. They cut out 3 seconds of Bubba Hendershot being shot by the military vehicle. Kind of how like the dude in RoboCop in the beginning got blown away by Ed 209.
Okay.
3 seconds of the steamroller hitting that kid because there was brain matter that happened in that scene. they had 6 seconds of that electrical knife cutting off Frank's right index finger. Like, fucking graphically shown. The soda can that hit the coach's forehead, eventually that wound expanded and blew up on him.
Okay.
Yeah. The steamroller riding through and squashing the kid's father on top of squashing the kid. A half chewed up body underneath a lawnmower in the neighborhood that Deke passes through. The Bible salesman being attacked by the video player and his friend who attempt to cut his face off with a straight razor. The Bible salesman's forehead peeling down to like show his skull all fucked up after he got hit by the car.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
So, in order for them to escape, they blew up trucks, particularly the first one and the Green Goblin main one. Why didn't they just shoot the fucking trucks when they could have?
I mean, why didn't they just blow the shit up and then leave, like, to make headway?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, subplot-wise, alerting more of the trucks and, like, that would have attracted their attention is, like, if they could just sneak by them, because they pretty much are just patrolling the area.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, how do these trucks see?
I know. I don't. Is it like Herbie where it's the headlights, or is it like I don't?
Do they have like infrared? Do they sense the heat?
I don't understand.
I don't either.
The Green Goblin one I understand.
Fuck yeah, Green Goblin, dude. The Green Goblin kicked ass.
I have to assume the face was the literal face, but I don't understand why they didn't just blow everything up and then just fucking leave. I mean, it's like the ending to Gilligan's Island whenever they finally build a boat. And I was like, whoa, wait. Why didn't you just do this before? Took you 300 fucking episodes to do this?
Who the fuck knows? But this is Maximum Overdrive, goddammit. It's a favorite of mine, even though it's as whack as it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a fucking favorite of mine. It was something that I watched in my childhood, and it's just one of those. It's a weird fucking comfort watch, and I think the reasoning behind it being such a comfort watch for me is because when I first saw this, I was very heavily in, and I still like the band, obviously, but I was very heavily into AC/DC, and I was sold on this movie by seeing the name of the movie on the back of the Who Made Who album.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay. And then I saw it at the Blockbuster video, and I was like, okay. And then I rented it, and I saw that it was a Stephen King movie, and I was like, I'm sold even more. And then I watched it, and I was just like, well, that certainly was a movie.
Okay, so
it's like a giant long-form music video for AC/DC's album.
So it's not just like, no, this is just dated now. Like, even back then, people were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, this movie didn't really do any favors. A lot of like 1 out of 4 star reviews and fucking like low percent. Like, this has a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. Basically, like the way that you and I were looking at it, how like visually it looks great, but like, you know, storytelling wise and like executed, it just doesn't work. A lot of people have that same sentiment.
Okay.
If you feel like checking out Maximum Overdrive, I'm pretty sure you can stream it. Like, I'm pretty sure it's on a streaming platform somewhere. Other than that, we are about to overdrive the fuck out of here.
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking exhausted.
Haha, truck exhaust. Diesel exhaust. Haha.
I gotta go.
Visit supermediabrospodcast.com for past, present, and future episodes. Check out all the other shows on the OddPods Media Network by visiting oddpodsmedia.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on social media. Buy a t-shirt. And, you know, if you feel like hanging out with us again next week, come on back. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. This has been Cult Cinema Saturday Maximum Overdrive, episode 286. Until next time, I'm Richie.
I'm Devin.
Shades on.
We're off.